Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We talked exhaustively over the years about the exodus from Illinois, a exodus not seen since the Israelites fled Egypt, at least on that scale. But, of course, Illinois is not the only state that is pushing people to relocate. You knew it was going bad in California when Art Laffer moved to Tennessee, and it hasn't improved since he left. Siyamak Khorrami is a documentarian. He's also the host of California Insider and editor of the Epoch Times Southern California edition. And he's got a new documentary out called Leaving California. Here's a little bit of it.
The homeless problem is getting worse. It's not getting better. Crime is getting worse. It's not getting better. Regulations are getting worse. It's not getting better.
People are bailing on California in record numbers.
Showing more than half of Californians are considering moving.
It might be harder to find a U-Haul than to find your next home.
The exodus of people moving out of California is not new.
No sane person would want to leave California if they could make it here.
For the first time ever, people are leaving.
In 2020, California lost 650,000 people.
Several high-profile companies have moved their headquarters.
This place is going to sink. Watch, they already have high taxes.
Our problems are man-made. All you have to do is pay attention.
It's the money that's doing the talking, the California legislature. It can't go on forever like this.
There's a lot of people that you would be surprised by their stories.
Well, stories like the story we told you last week. Eli Steele.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of documentarians, our documentarian friend, son of Shelby Steele, his car broken into in San Francisco, $30,000 of camera equipment stolen. They're waiting for police to arrive to the break-in of his vehicle,
and other cars are
which never happened.
Yeah.
And they're watching other cars get broken into. Stories like this. In January, Shannon Collier Gwynn, a 71-year-old art gallery owner, arrested for spraying a hose at a homeless woman who camped in front of his business. The woman often had been heard screaming in the middle of the night. "I'm completely broke," Mr. Gwynn said in an apology. "I'm not equipped to train or to deal with a citywide problem like this." And neither are a lot of other residents who fled San Francisco in particular. Half the retailers have closed since 2020.
Wow.
In the Westfield San Francisco Center, big mall. You've heard the exodus. We've documented the exodus. Even if Whole Foods can't make it in San Francisco. San Francisco has lost 7.5% of its population in the last 3 years.
Oh, and by the way, Gavin Newsom was on with Sean Hannity, and he blamed the location of the Whole Foods. They should never have chosen that location. They should have chosen somewhere else instead of the actual problem.
Well, apparently San Francisco shouldn't have chosen its location either. 7.5% of its population is left. That's a larger share than any other major city. And it's largely the exodus being led by the affluent. About 14,700 San Francisco taxpayers with an average adjusted gross income of $415,000 moved to other states in 2020 and 2021. And, of course, this is not dissimilar to what you're hearing and seeing out of Manhattan or Chicago. For more on the California example specifically, pleased to be joined by the aforesaid documentarian, Siyamak Khorrami. Siyamak, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan and Amy, thank you for having me.
So, the stories of California, coming out of California, like San Francisco in particular, well documented. What are, from the investigative work you did to put together this film, what are some of the takeaways in terms of where you think this is going and maybe the cautions for other major cities around the country?
In California, the reason we made this movie, there's a lot of information out there about the exodus. But there's not a lot of talk about why. So we actually went deeper to analyze what's going on. Why is the crime up? Why is the homelessness the way it is? Why do we have the cost of living being so high? So we went deeper, and we actually got to the policies that the state has. And a lot of these policies are well-intentioned, and they're incremental policies that add up, and then they cause the criminal justice system to break down, for example, or they cause something major to break. But the media is not really digging deep into these issues. As a result of it, the average residents here have no idea why we have the problems we have. And so we dug deep to figure that out and show them what's going on. And there's a huge disconnect between the policymakers and the average residents. And they're doing things at the expense of the residents without really understanding the outcome.
Well, like what? I mean, every major city seems to have politicians that have different names but the same policies. What is particularly unique about San Francisco, L.A., or the state of California?
So one thing about crime is we've decriminalized theft. So theft is legal now. Under $950, you steal as many times as you want. You can go to one store, steal up to $950, and go to another store, steal another $950. And if you get caught, then you get a ticket. It would be a misdemeanor, but you get a ticket. And it doesn't matter how many times you steal. So essentially, we have kind of legalized theft. If you want to go do drugs and live on the streets, and you're going to spend thousands of dollars, and you need this money, you can go to these Whole Foods, these kind of stores, and just take whatever you want, and then go and sell them, and then spend it on drugs. So we have, in a city like San Francisco, we have actually we are allowing people to be in the streets, do drugs, and take whatever they need from the stores. Meanwhile, we are hearing that a lot of these homeless encampments that are very visible are controlled by gangs and drug dealers. So essentially, we have had policies, and the reason we have these policies is we wanted to, this law that passed, we actually voted for this proposition called Proposition 47 a few years ago. We wanted to actually go deal with the root cause of the crime, so we decriminalized drugs. But I think these policies have gone too far, but the media is not really connecting the dots. So if you look at the big papers in San Francisco, they're not even acknowledging crime is up. Because the statistics are not showing it. The statistics are not showing it because people have given up on reporting on crime.
So in your documentary, Leaving California, The Untold Story, do you address how homelessness became so out of control, not only in San Francisco, but in Los Angeles, and then, San Diego? There's so many towns where you just have these huge encampments, and they look scary.
Yeah, and we go deep into understanding what's going on in these encampments. And what we're hearing is that they're controlled by gangs. And if you want to set up a tent and you are not doing drugs, you're not doing any illegal activities, you have to pay tax to the people that control that street. It looks like it's a devious society that we've set up. So we go deep into that. We also go into other things and a lot of times what happens with Californians is they see one thing. So if you live in LA, you live in San Francisco, you may see the homelessness. But then if you're in another area, you might have your kids go to the public school system. You see a little bit of it. You don't see the whole picture. And this documentary helps people see the whole picture and connect the dots. That it's not just homelessness, it's not just crime, it's everywhere. And
and also the response too. I mean, the asinine responses like newly minted Mayor Karen Bass, who wants to mandate that private hotel owners provide rooms at whatever rate the city sets for homeless people if they have any occupancy, if they have any open rooms. And it does, whether hotel owners want to do that or not. I mean, that's the sort of response you get from these imperious politicians. And maybe, I don't know, there's a lack of general understanding of the approaches that are being taken by the local pols.
Absolutely. So we are told that homelessness is about cost of living and lack of affordable housing or housing. But when you go into the streets and you go deeper, you dig into it, you realize that there's a complete different story. And the minute that you question that mainstream narrative, which is homelessness is about poverty, you're going to get a lot of pressure from the media, from everyone, from the active social media activists. They're going to come after you. So we're kind of watching this as it's happening, and it's getting to the point where people can see some of it, but the goal for us is to show Californians what's going on. There's another part with cost of living. Cost of living here is significantly higher than other states. Like the cost of gasoline is 40% higher than the national average. And a lot of it has to do with the policies. All of it has to do with the policies of the state, but they're incremental, and nobody digs deep to say, okay, why is it higher here? And average people here think it's a sunshine tax. We have to pay more because we live in California.
You came to California from Iran by way of Mexico City. What did you anticipate when you and your family made your way to California, and what do you think about, thinking back on what you expected versus what now you're living? What's your perspective?
When I came to California, it was like paradise. Mm-hmm. It was amazing. It was safe. It was sunny. Everything was great, and there was a lot of opportunities. The standard of living was very high. And then in the last couple of decades, I see the decay happening. The standard of living is going down. Crime and theft, when I lived in San Diego, it's like you could not even picture or think about theft being the way it would be. It's a shock how much change has happened here in the last decade or so.
Wow. Have you thought about doing a sequel of Leaving Illinois?
Not yet, because I don't know Illinois well, but we're really focused on California.
Yeah, it's a very similar story, unfortunately. You could do this could be a whole series: leaving New York, leaving New Jersey, leaving Connecticut. We know where people are leaving from and where they're going to. Siyamak Khorrami is the host of California Insider, the editor of the Epoch Times Southern California edition, and he's got a new documentary, as we were discussing, that's available on our platform, Salem Now. It's called Leaving California, The Untold Story. Siyamak Khorrami, thanks for joining us. Good luck with the film.
Thank you, Dan and Amy. Have a great one.
Yes, thank you. You too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Sean Thompson, and I'm proud to tell you about the great work of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, a new partner of ours here at AM 560. Born on America's darkest day of 9/11, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation has been helping America's heroes ever since. When a first responder or military service member doesn't come home and young children are left behind, Tunnel to Towers pays the mortgage on the family home to lift the financial burden and bring stability. For catastrophically injured veterans and first responders, Tunnel to Towers builds mortgage-free smart homes, giving our most severely injured heroes the ability to live more independent lives. You can help America's heroes and their families by supporting the Tunnel to Towers Foundation when you make a small donation of just $11 a month. Go to T2T.org. That's T, the number 2, T.org. T2T.org.